What's up, Battle Brothers and Battle Sistren? This is Ave Dominus Noob, back again with some Warhammer 40k lore content. And I want to talk about another book today. I just finished reading For the Emperor by Sandy Mitchell, and this is the first Ciaphas Cain novel of the series. It's a several book series. It goes on for a while, and this is my second read through, and I just really wanted to talk about it. So let's get into it. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe because I just want to keep these videos going. There's a lot more lore. There's a lot more Warhammer lore to learn, and we have a long ways to go, and it'd be great to journey together. So this is a Sandy Mitchell book. Writing is absolutely phenomenal. Ciaphas Cain was one of the first books. For the Emperor was one of the first books that I read in Black Library. Probably one of my first like 3 or 4 books, and I've read lots of books since then. It's been a few years since I started reading. So for me to go back and read it a second time, it's got a lot more things that I can stand up to and compare it to. And I would say that even though I've read a lot more books in between that time, this book still holds up incredibly well against them. This is one of the best written books that I've read in all of Black Library. It's really not even close when it comes to creativity, because a lot of the books have the same type of format, but this was something that was fresh and brand new after reading so many books that have very similar formatting. So one of the main things that I really enjoyed about this book was the 3 voice actors that really brought home Mitchell's writing with their phenomenal voice acting. Stephen Parry, Penelope Rawlings, and Emma Gregory especially really killed it. And I really enjoyed this team of voice actors that really brought the story together for me. I loved it. So if you don't know anything about Cain, Cain is somewhat of a fraud. Cain, even before the story kicks off, is a very well-known and pretty famous commissar. He's fought everything in the galaxy from Tyranids to orcs to gene stealers, and it doesn't make any sense for him to start at level 100 like this. Most characters we know come across one of these factions, get very scarred from it, and we don't really hear from them again, if we ever hear from them again. But this guy's coming into the book already having faced down Necron Overlord. So I just want to know what type of game genie and action replay cheats this guy has, because I've never seen a character this normal have this level of prestige this early. So basically the idea for the Emperor is Cain is trying to stay away from the front lines under any means necessary, and he goes to a backwater planet to try to stay out of the sights of some of the other commissars, because they assume that if you're a hero, you like being in front of bullets and in front lines. So he goes away to Valhalla, and it is a guard unit that is having disciplinary problems because it was a unit that fought the Tyranids, got decimated, and 2 rival units were forced to merge to create a new, stronger fighting unit. So Cain is sent down there to deal with the discipline there, and not only does he have to deal with the challenges of getting the Valhallan Iceborn to work together and fight together, but he also has to deal with various other bullshit, including commissars trying to get him killed, and the planet that they're contesting is having a power struggle with the Tau over the humans that live there. And that's one thing that I have to mention also that I don't really see in 40k books. So I've got the Tau is absolutely the faction I know the absolute least about. This is the only book I've read that actually have Tau in it, just straight up. And I just don't know what to think. I didn't know that the Tau and the Imperium could have diplomatic relationships. So I understand that this world Gravelax is an exception because it's a backwater and it's important, but it's not important enough for the Imperium to draw resources away from. The Tau are there, and they have way more resources in the area, so they kind of want to influence Gravelax without getting into a full-scale war with the Tau, because the Tau would fuck them up in this particular instance, and they don't have the tools to rally to go deal with that. So the Guard is forced to deal with that diplomatically, which I didn't even know was a thing that was possible. I just thought it was just shoot on sight anytime you see a Xenos, especially for the Guard. But to see them have to act diplomatically, especially a commissar, that was very interesting, and I'd love to check out a Tau book after this. Another thing that I really enjoyed about this book was the narration and point of view. It's a little bit different than what we usually get from 40k novels. Most of the time it's floating narrator who can read the thoughts of the main character and whoever else is important at the time. But this one is actually given to us like Cain's memoirs. These are Cain's journals from his journeys, given to us by Amberly Vale. And whenever he is disingenuous or giving us incomplete facts or anything like that, Amberly Bell will chime in and let us know the whole story, for at least from her point of view. Also, we'll get a little bit of accounts from other writers, um, people that have saw the Grapple Axe incident from other points of view, and Amberly will pick apart their notes and explain to you. She'll apologize for certain ones if she knows that they're especially biased and things, but she uses them in order to paint a better picture. It's everything from like really biased historians to members of Cain's own crew. She gets some of their notes too, so it's really cool. And the point of view and the narration and the way the story was put together is just a breath of fresh air. And if you read the same thing all the time, or at least in the same way, things can get kind of monotonous. So it's really good to have a different storytelling point of view. Seeing the Guard was really cool. I haven't read very many Guard books either. In fact, I think this is the only Guard book I read besides Krieg. And it was really cool to see how they work in certain situations. Like, for instance, with the Valhallans splitting and becoming another force and having different traditions and fighting each other and killing Provis. I didn't know that could happen. The Commissar's rank within the actual military unit, how he's kind of like outside authority, but at the same time, he's not the colonel and not in full control of the forces and things like that. I thought that was really cool to see how that worked out too. And I thought it was also really cool to see how Cain justify his kind of soft power approach to dealing with the troops, because he realizes that eventually you're going to be on the battlefield with these people, and eventually they're all going to have guns. And he says that all the hard-ass commissars that go around putting bullets in people's heads end up not lasting as long. He asks, "Why do you think I've been around for this many generations?" Cain's a badass dude. Cain's survival instinct is one of the funniest things in the book. They'll be in so many situations where things about to pop off, and he looks heroic by doing one thing, but in his mind, he's doing it for a complete different reason. Like, for instance, when he and his friend commissar got attacked by a mob, he was hoping that if something happened, his friend would actually make better targets so he could get away because he's much louder. Lots of situations act like this. Most of the time in the planning, he's trying to put people in between him and the bullets. And it's not obvious or apparent. I think there's only one or two characters in the entire book that even suspected that he's a fraud, but you'll hear in his own narration most times he's just like, I need this person to draw fire from me, and that's why he made that decision, or I need people to stand in between me and the fighting, and that is his decision making for that. But somehow he's still looked at as a hero. He plays it off so well. He's a great manipulator. Even Vel thinks this. With so many factions interacting at one time, like the Tau, the Guard, and other factions, I don't want to give away too much about the book. I don't really want to make this a spoiler review, but I think that I got a chance to see some factions interact that I wouldn't expect to see interact before, and I thought that was really cool, and it just makes me want more of Cain and more of their adventures. So Jurgen is one of my favorite characters. Jurgen is Cain's aide, the aide to the commissar. His rank is gunner, and he smells really bad, and he's got this nasty psoriasis of the face, so he's pretty like ugly looking, and he's not the smartest tool in the box. He's a few ants short of a picnic. However, he is an extremely effective ally. He walks around with extremely heavy weapons. He had a melta cannon, and they were just asking him if he was well armed enough sarcastically. He didn't quite get the sarcasm, but it was a great moment. He drives like Mogrot from Brutal Cunning. Like, his driving nauseates people, and his smell is just legendary. There's a passage in the book I love where Cain jumps down from the top of the truck, and then he's expecting Jurgen, but instead all he gets is the stink, and then a few moments later he gets Jurgen actually dropping down. So that's crazy how bad he smells. And Jurgen's got some secrets and some cool stuff about him that you'll just have to read the book to find out about. I'm not going to talk about it here, but he's definitely one of my favorite characters. Another one of my favorite characters also is Inquisitor Amberly Vale. Inquisitor Amberly Vale, and this might be a little bit of spoiler territory, but I think that she's pretty well known as a character. She is a very whimsical and not an inquisitor like you would expect. The first time Cain met her, he thought she was a ballroom singer, and he just couldn't get over how good she could sing and how beautiful she was. Later on during the book, it turns out that it's a twist. The person he thought was the Inquisitor is not, and Amberly Bell is, and she is badass. She's funny, and she's a good manipulator too, like Cain. She's a good narrator, and she's got some badass weapons. She's got this displacement field that if she takes a big enough hit, it'll take her away from there, oftentimes putting her in other types of danger too, like running into bookshelves and things like that. But she's so cute. and I think she's my favorite Inquisitor. I have to put her up there with like a Nika from Emperor's Gift. Yeah, two of my favorite Inquisitors. I love a badass female Inquisitor. That's my favorite archetype. Fuck your zodiac sign. Who's your favorite female Inquisitor? I want to talk about the Suicide Squad, and this is what I call them. They are a group of soldiers that got in big trouble at the beginning of the book. And Sandy Mitchell's description of these 5 individuals was so badass. I love this part of the book. They talk about 2 of the people that were at each other's throats, a big guy and a small woman, and how they still hate each other even though they're in front of a firing squad. Then they talk about a medical orderly that looked like he was scared and so out of place, but Cain saw him stab somebody with a plate himself. So if he hadn't seen that blood-fueled rage by himself, he would have hardly believed it was the same person. Another woman had defended herself from another guardsman and landed an unlucky blow and crushed his larynx and left him suffocating on the mess hall floor. And the final guy is my boy Sorrel. I love Sorrel. Sorrel is a sniper, and he scares the shit out of Cain. He is a little different than the others because the rest of them got carried away in their bloodlust and partially weren't responsible for their actions. But Sorrel, he killed a Provost by sliding a knife in between his body armor, and he did it for no other reason besides, haha, this would be fun. Cain said that he hadn't seen eyes on a person like that since the last time he stared into the eyes of an Eldar homunculus. So there's hardly any shortcomings to the story. I was trying to think of some negative sides to it, and the only thing I could think of is that the ending can be a little bit anticlimactic, but the way Vale wraps it up in the end with kind of like this note, kind of like this feel-good moment, something that we don't really get that much in the Grim Dark universe. It was really, really good, and I can't even take any points away. At first, I was like, "Oh, this is how it's ending," and then it was just the last few sentences of the book wrapped it up so perfect with the bow on top. I don't want to, you just have to go read it because I don't want to give the details on it. But basically, he's talking about Vale, and he's saying that even though that adventure they were on led them into so much danger, he was saying even if he had to go all through it again, he would because it was worth it. And Vale says, well, on that somewhat flattering note, I guess this is the end of our memoirs. And it was just so nice and so sweet. I'm a romantic, even though I love grimdark, horrible, terrible. I'm a Night Lords fan. I'm used to people getting skinned. That's like the worst way to die. But at the same time, this felt so good. I can't deny it, that it makes my little Night Lord heart flutter. So I am going to give For the Emperor, a Ciaphas Cain novel by Sandy Mitchell, 10 melt-a-guns out of 10. This story had everything that I wanted from it. It was better the second time around, and I really don't think there's any way to stand up to Sandy Mitchell's writing. It's just phenomenal. And I would suggest this book for anybody who's in the 40K period. I don't care if you're an Orc fan, Chaos, whatever. Go read this book so that you can enjoy yourself and have a good time, because it just doesn't get much better than this. That was my video. Tell me, what did you read For the Emperor? And are you a fan of the Ciaphas Cain novels? Should I just continue and read the entire series? Because I'm very tempted to, because this book was excellent. I want to move on to Caves of Ice. Also, suggest books for me to review. There's a lot of books out there, and I don't know everything to read. So hit me up. This is Ave Dominus Noob saying Ave Dominus Nox.